The other thing that gets me about her is, now I know this is going totally off topic of, like, my Breaking Dawn review. It's pretty much just a general review of the Breaking Dawn experience, more so than, you know, just the book. But anyway, the other thing that gets me is how much she insults us, her fans, that don't like this book. The Rob effect is just the first one that comes to mind. She also said at the LA signing that she didn't like going to signings and she was only there because of Justin. Wow. Thanks a lot, Stephanie. And of course, her reasoning as to why we don't like Breaking Dawn isn't because it's a piece of fanfiction crap, but because we, the fans, put so much pressure on its release and on her that nothing could have lived up to the hype. For serious? Stephanie, you need to take some damn blame. Yeah, sorry. I was most infuriated by the fact that she said our default take on things is that we don't like them. We automatically don't like new things, and it takes us a few days to get used to stuff. No. And I was horrified to hear her even suggest that if we really knew the characters, we would love the book and would have known it was going in this direction all along. Biatch, we know them better than you. You're the one that should be rethinking things, sitting down with your Rob effect. Get used to everybody hating your book. Ugh, it makes me mad. She really made me mad with all her Breaking Dawn interviews. I was just speechless for the most part that she would say such things about her fans, first off, like that. I was like, whoa. And the characters, that really bothered me, the thing about the characters. Like, yeah, sure, it makes sense to you because your world went from Twilight to Breaking Dawn and you didn't even mean to put the middle two books in there. But you did, and in doing so, your characters changed. Your characters changed from Twilight through New Moon and Eclipse, and then you didn't change them to fit in Breaking Dawn. So, I'm gonna take a break because I am getting angry, and if I don't, I will. Okay. Anyway, the other thing that I am confused about is her stand on this book. Like, she claims that she had this ending planned out all along, right? And then she claims that she didn't know what was happening and just wrote what came naturally. Like, it's one or the other. You can't have both. You either had no idea or you deliberately created this fail. Which one? So that confused me because she was like, oh, I have no idea. I just write. And then she was like, oh, but I've had this planned. So I'm like, makes sense, woman. Okay, moving on away. I have never, ever in my entire life, you guys have seen my bookshelf, somebody asked me if I was in a library when I did my video with my bookshelf in the background. That is how big my bookshelf is, and that's not even my only one. Never in my life, reading any of the books, millions of books that I have read, have I ever had to force myself to read. Even if I didn't like it, I was always compelled to finish a story. Like, even if it was just for some closure, if nothing else. Breaking Dawn, not the case. I had to force my way to the end of that book. I could not do it. I was seriously just, like, trudging. It was like drowning. It was awful. I really was mad at myself for not being able to get through it. I really just didn't want to look at it anymore. Normally, when I'm reading something that bad, I can just log out of fanfiction.net and go get a real book, but WTF, this is a real book. Now, you all know that I've never been, like, crazy, insane fangirl about this series. I love it. I do love the series. No, yes, I'm one of those people that is forsaking Breaking Dawn. It doesn't exist. Twilight is a trilogy. Sorry. Anyways, I've always looked at this like fan fiction. Anybody that's been watching me for a while knows that. But this book, this is like awful stereotypical fan fiction. Like, people keep saying that it could be worse. Like, I don't know. I keep getting comments about Renee's Tard, and people just keep saying, "Oh, it could have been worse. It could have been worse." No, I honestly do not think it could have been worse. She did everything she could have to make it bad. The characters are, every single one of them is out of character. She contradicts the mechanics of her own world. And you guys are saying, she can't do that. It's her world. Blah, 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 blah. She said it in the real world. Sorry. That means that not only is her world merging with this world, she's got to keep the mechanics of both. You can't. I'll get into that later. She should never be allowed to write sex again. This is more funny than it is I'm mad about it. But it's like, once she gets started, she could stop. Constantly, they were just... And I'm like, dang, what would this book have been if she hadn't written it for young adults? Like, she's like, I never written a young adult book in my life. They just edit stuff out. And I'm like, oh my god, what would have been in this? And that's all I could think of. She introduced, like, these highly interesting characters right at the very end, and didn't give them any time to develop whatsoever, or even explain who the crap they were, or how the Cullens know any of them. That made me mad, because I love characters. And I was just like, who are these people? Where do they come from? Why do they know them? And we don't get any of it, because it's just right at the end, smack, have some people. I think in her desperation to wrap everything up in this nice little bow, as Bailey says, she forgot about the middle two books. Everyone says, "Wah, she was writing for herself. This was how she intended it. Leave her alone." No offense, peeps, but if she was writing for herself, she should have listened to her publishers and kept it to herself. Steph definitely wrote this for herself, because it sure as hell wasn't for any of us. At least the pervs got their sex, I guess. So many directions. So many. And she chose teenage pregnancy. Why? Sorry. I'm sorry. I truly believe that only diehard fans are blinding themselves to liking this book. I am astounded that she couldn't realize the horribleness spewing forth from her keystrokes. I mean, she's an intelligent person. She is. And I was going to say I feel bad for the editors who had to push through this. Then I remembered that she did most of it herself. I wonder why. And I'll talk about the editing. Talk about that. Okay, now, by now, if you don't already know, my opinions are pretty harsh and strong. So you're forewarned, just in case that you didn't know that. But I'm completely convinced that the only people who can stomach this book are, one, people who are fanfiction fanatics and read it all the time and like it. Two, Meyer groupies, you know, the people who've loved her like so much through all of this that they think that they can't stop now, and they're telling themselves it was great simply to keep that love. You know, the people who feel that they can't betray Steph or whatever. Three, the rebels, the ones who think, oh, well, if everyone hates it, then no one likes it. I'm gonna like it simply for that reason. That's all. I seriously, that's all I can think of. I can see where people would accept this book, respect this book, you know, as a part of the series and Stephenie Meyer, but like it, someone please make a video about detailed reasons why you like this book. Seriously.